this is a unique affair. It's a memorial, and what a memory we're sharing. Seriously, our deepest condolences. Our love. What a profound loss. A profound loss. Oh, it's a profound loss. And thank you. I'll be mindful of this microphone here. My name's Tom Vogel, and I've known the Harbinson family for some time, since 1982. In fact, the very first person I met in 1982 when I drove up from Alberta to the Youth of the Mission campus here in Cambridge was Maureen. She met me at the kitchen, and right away she said, "Hi, my name's Maureen, welcome. And by the way, my husband is Colin Harbinson, the creator of Toymaker and Son." And that was lovely. It was lovely. It was very, very touching because I didn't know who Colin was at all. I hadn't even seen Toymaker and Son at that stage. Remember, this is 1982, early days. It wasn't long, however, probably a few days later, when I met Colin Harbinson. And what a profound effect. It has changed. He has changed. They, the Harbinson family, have changed the trajectory of my life. They played a major role. As I look around, many trajectories right now have been profoundly impacted by the life, the love, the vision of Colin Harbinson. He was a man of vision, my goodness, and vision is a thing that transcends our human frame. It goes on, it lives on. So I'm going to say a prayer, and here's one of the prayers I would say in a moment like this, thinking of Colin. If you'd please bow your head, and I shall pray. I very seldom ask people to bow their heads to pray, but let's do it, shall we? Dear Heavenly Father, you have given us the greatest gift of community. Community is a miracle. It's one of the greatest miracles you can provide. It's greater than healing legs and bodies and stopping weather or doing whatever it is that you can do on this planet. Community happens to be the greatest miracle. And here we stand, here we sit together in community, a community that's been spun together by the love of each other, but also by the vision, surprisingly, of this great man that we come to memorialize today. What a role he's played in our lives. Thank you, Father, for the gift of Colin in our lives, that we all had a moment to be with him in whatever shape or size or time we had with him. It made an impact, and we were so grateful. In Jesus' name, amen. So I'll just say a few words. I'm the MC tonight. So I get to say a lot of words. I had 5 minutes, but no, I can stretch it out over the whole time. But just for now, Colin, believe it or not, was the man who officiated, as the reverend that he is, my wedding to Carolyn Vogel, who unfortunately can't be here at the moment. She's tending to our little grandchild off another part of town. So she sends her love for those of you who know her. But Colin officiated our wedding. Colin was there at those early days when we were just young people. I had a flock of seagulls hairdo. Use your imagination. This is the 80s. We had a group of very interesting, creative, and colorful people that we worked with and lived with. And Colin had to somehow be the glue and the connector and the manager of all of that. The great producer that Colin was. He was a great producer. I mean, you think, Toymaker and Son, the very first thing we saw of his was the Yuma. The Yuma was the very first one. And I would be interested to know anyone in the room right now who actually performed in that early version of De Yuma. Anyone with a hands up? Just a hands up? Look at them. There they are. My goodness. And Toymaker and Son was next. But De Yuma really kind of blew my mind. I was a young Christian, and back in those days, all Christians really had to deal with and work with was puppets and music, and sometimes puppets who played music. That was it, folks, for the arts. So it's pretty slim pickings. So I came as a performing artist to the campus with big eyes and a big heart. So, okay, let's see what is going on here as Christianity and the arts. And here was this man with this great vision and the ability to see people and their strengths and to draw them out. Because, okay, let's be honest, Colin wasn't a dancer. Yet we all remember him for dance and performance and theatrical dance. But he was not a dancer. But boy, the people around him were, and he knew how to see them and see their talent and pull it together. Just brilliant at that producer in him. So, something you may not know of Colin. That's the Colin we know of. The producer, the Toymaker and Son guy, and the Deuma, and the man who's off internationally with the Russians and doing stuff with the Chinese, and it was all impressive. Don't get me wrong. Wow, impressive. He got an honorary doctorate for a reason, folks. He was the Reverend Dr. Colin Harbinson for a very good reason. And he would be so happy me saying that right now like that. He would love that. So, right? Anyways, here's a side of Colin you don't know, and that is this. Or maybe you do, but it's a lesser known side. Colin was a fabulous musical storyteller. He was a grand storyteller. In the grand scheme of things, there are a certain kind of breed of human beings on the planet. We have different types. There's people who will be physicians, and there's people who will be constructors of things, and people who will do amazing stuff with whatever. But there's this group of people on the planet that have been with us from the beginning, and they are the storytellers. I know because I'm one of them. I am one of them. And Colin recognized that in me. Oh, there's a storyteller, just like me. And I saw it in him right away. We just knew, hey, we're kin. We figured it out. But storytelling is an incredibly interesting gift. So you can use stories, you see things, you see patterns, and you see the world unfold before you, and you somehow interpret that, and you tell that story. Colin had this incredible ability to take music, not just to create a story, but he would take music, he would source music from and I'm talking, remember this is early days, Toymaker and Son, he sourced music that wasn't from the Maranatha Library or the Word Records Library. He didn't just use Chuck Girard or Phil Keaggy, though they were all great. He used Led Zeppelin. He used also rock and roll people. And he pieced together Toymaker and Son from music that was emotionally cohesive. He understood how to tell a story with music. And it was profound. I also have that gift. And yes, I am musical. I play an instrument, whatever. It's not that I do that, but I have that ability as well. And Colin saw that in me. He saw that in Gary Kirkham over there, the award-winning playwright, Gary Kirkham. He saw that in Gary Kirkham as well. And he would call Gary and I sometimes over to his place, to his apartment in the corner. What was the building? What was at the campus? Heritage. They had that little back section in Heritage. He'd call us in, and he'd have his 1970s fireplace going. That whole 70s look. And he said, Tom, Gary, listen to this piece of music. Because he knew that, like myself, Gary also was able to really source great music, to understand music that could tell a story cohesively. He'd come on over. So we'd go over to his place, and he'd play some music. Well, he was also a tech geek, Colin. He was a techie guy. So he always wanted to tell the best story possible, and the sound had to be perfect. It had to be hiss-free. Remember back in the day with cassette tapes? He had to make it perfect. So he said, Gary, Tom, I've got this new system. It has Dolby B. Dolby B. Oh, yes. Come listen to this. So he put on a cassette tape. Remember that? Rise up, oh man of God. I've done it with lesser things. Okay. Listen now. I'm going to put Dolby B on. You're right, Colin. There's no hiss. Incredible. So that's all I have to say at the moment. Only to say that I have a piece of music that I have sourced for Colin. And yes, this comes from my skill and my gift. that is beyond my intelligence and my brightness, limited as that is. It's a bigger thing. I was driving along the road the other day, and up comes a Bruce Cockburn song on my Apple playlist. And up comes Bruce Cockburn, and he sings a song called Colin Goes Down to the Water. So it happens that back in the day, this particular album, Bruce Cockburn was working out his faith in song. That was in the 80s. And this song was about a friend of his who passed along. It's profound. If we may, I believe you've got the thing. Okay.
Such a beautiful sight. Colin went down to the water, bound for the infinite, finally unbound, freed in the spirit, a way forward found, into the current, no slowing down. Colin went down to the water. Once in a while we lose track of the way. Colin went down to the water. Forget where the poles are, the plot of the play. Colin went down to the water, lifted away, taken out of the fight, gone to where all of the choices are right. The sea's a receptacle, brimming with light. Colin went down to the water. Oh, Colin went down to the water. Oh, Colin went down to the water.
ask for Fred Hagel to join us. Hey, Fred. Thank you.
Colin Harbinson's life was truly an amazing story, and Tom, you shared so much of that already. And some of you have known Colin, like Tom, for a long time from his early years. And some of you have known him through his years with YWAM and others during his time at Belhaven University in Mississippi. And then there are others like myself and my wife Carol, and probably some here in the congregation who have gotten to know Colin since he, shall I say, retired, but we never retire. But it was here at Hope Church where we met. And our friendship with Colin and Maureen began really about 10 or 11 years ago. And Colin was the kind of guy that reached out and made one feel welcome right here at IPC Hope in the family. But actually, I have to say it was those blue, funky rimmed glasses that he had that really caught the attention. And as I got to know Colin and began to hear his many travel stories of the YWAM years and also at Belhaven, it was not hard to see that his faith in Jesus Christ was indeed the very solid foundation of his life. Colin was definitely a lifelong learner of the Scriptures, and I will be forever grateful for the invitation that Colin extended to Carol and I to come and be a part of a Thursday night life group at the home of Bob and Diane Birch. And being in the life group together deepened and even strengthened our friendship and our faith in Christ. And as we often said, this is where we share life together. And not having grown up in the YWAM world, I had not heard about Toymaker and Son until meeting Colin. In our many conversations together, Colin shared the history of that story and the impact that it had all around the world. And at the same time, about 2017, I was leading a new older adult ministry group here at the church. And in that first year of the program, Colin and I organized a group of older adults and presented a radio-style performance of the reading of Toymaker and Son, the first time that I had ever read the story. And today it's a privilege. I have one of the early editions of the English version of Toymaker and Son at home. And as our friendship grew over the years, so did our social life. Some rounds of golf at the former Meadows, and I will not go into golfing scores. Coffee times at Beantown, downtown Woodstock, and at Starbucks, and spending some vacation days together along with our friends Jim and Dorothy Carey in Southampton and Goderich, of which we'll be doing again this year, except Colin won't be with us, nor Maureen. And one of the outings that we've especially enjoyed with Colin and Maureen has been to Stillwater's restaurant in Paris, along with a group of other friends. And I believe if Colin were here to make a menu recommendation, it would be calamari and a non-alcoholic beer. And during the last 6 or 7 years, it had become an annual tradition that we would also share Christmas dinners together, the Harbinsons and Carol and I. And 1 year at the Harbinsons, and then 1 year at our place. And I can tell you, when it came to Christmas turkey and the trimmings, Colin was indeed a master chef. And Carol and I will be forever grateful to Colin for his cell phone photography skills. On Sunday, July the 9th of 2017, Carol and I were exiting Sunday worship, and there was Colin outside, and he snapped a picture. And that picture now hangs in our home because we used it for our 50th wedding anniversary, and there are signatures and blessings all around the picture, but that picture that Colin took is forever our memory. It has been said that the wisest people are not the ones with the most years in their life, but the most life in their years. And that was the Colin Harbinson that I got to know. So well done, good and faithful friend. We will meet again. We will meet again. Amen.
At this point, if Brooke Harbinson would like to come forward. Great.
Very short. I'm not used to a real microphone. I'm used to my karaoke microphone. So, for those of you who don't recognize me, you may know me as Brooke, or as I've been told, the Ice Cream Buddy, or a title that I hold very highly with extreme pride, Pop-Up's favorite granddaughter. Just let that sink in for a moment. It feels like not long ago, I was standing on a stage in front of many of you saying very similar words for Pop-Up's and Nanny's 50th anniversary. Today's speech is going to be a little different. When Nanny got her leg injury, Pop-Ups wanted to go to the hospital every single day. It wouldn't be for a long time, but he needed to make sure that he saw her every day. Sometimes he'd have to wait till the late afternoon, so he would instead call her, talk to her on the phone while waiting, sort of patiently, for us to drive him. It was no different for Nanny when Pop-Ups was in the hospital. She made sure she was with him every single day, and we had a pretty good system of getting her there and back home. Whether Pop-Ups was having a good day or a bad day, or one where he was asleep most of the time, she always wanted him to know that she was always with him. I have read many posts and comments from people all around the world talking about Pop-Ups and how they knew him and how amazing he was. We had a bit of different experience. Everyone said that he was famous and very well known, and he would often like to remind us of that. But I would always think he's not famous. He can't be. He's just our Pop-Ups, who's trying to convince us that he's a doctor. But I have very different memories with him. It was a deal with him and Nanny when us grandkids turned 16 that he would take us anywhere we wanted to go. Jade went to China, Tyra went to Italy, and Abby went to England. But for me, his heart attack stopped us from being able to go anywhere. So instead, he gave me an even better gift. They bought me my own car. I did not like flying, so I enjoyed this so much more. Him and I had a tradition of going for ice cream cones to McDonald's, where he would proceed to tell me life lessons. Some were good, some were not, but that became our thing, which is when I found out I was wisely known as the Ice Cream Buddy. It was a very big deal when I took him out for an ice cream in my own car. The life lesson for him, don't eat yellow snow. It's very important. I could go on and on about the shows Tyra, Abby, and I would put on for them every time they'd come twice a year. I could talk about our annual beach days where everyone would come and Pop-Ups made sure we brought a hot barbecue chicken. Or about how I would go downstairs, Pop-Ups and I would talk and cuddle, or how Pop-Ups loved it when I would serenade him with my karaoke machine before calling for help to get somebody to stop me. But that would go well over my 5-minute limit and I might get pushed off stage, so I'll end with this. He loved all of us grandkids, and he was always our biggest cheerleader, but had no problem telling us the brutal truth sometimes. He would joke with us, laugh with us, play games with us. Whether or not he was yelling at us, or mainly me, or a million miles away, he gave us no doubt that he loved us. To many people, he was famous, but to us, he was just our Pop-Ups, The old man who lived downstairs loved Jeopardy and ice cream cones.
That's a storyteller. That's it. Now, James, Cindy, and Jack. Are you dancing as well, Jack? No. Doing nothing. You lucky guy. You worked it out, eh? Okay, great. Go for your life. They're going to do a dance.
What? We're doing a poem. Hello, it's a long time since I've been on church behind a lectern. Even longer before anyone let me in church on a lectern. This is for Maureen. Grief is the quiet hum of love that no longer has a body. The way the heart stumbles when you remember the hint of a smile. It's that phantom weight attached to your elbow on those walks. It's not just sadness. It's the echo of 1,000 small rituals that once seemed to mean nothing, and now means everything. The way the house feels empty, yet every corner whispers, they were here, they were here. At first, grief is a wild thing, sharp teeth, ragged claws. It chews through the days, leaving us raw, tossed into the unknown. But slowly, ever so slowly, the storm inside settles. Not because love fades, but because it finds a new place to live. Grief is not a flaw. It's the fingerprint of love that has outlived the form. You don't move on. Love like this folds into the bones. We are all mortal. This thing called time we live in, it runs out. Maybe time is an illusion. But how else would God gift wrap eternity? I met a man of 100 years and asked him how he'd lived so long and so well. He looked at me with sparkly eyes and a crinkly smile and said, I laughed a lot. I cried a lot. I shouted a lot. I brooded a lot. I was angry. I fought. I forgave. I lived a lot. But mostly, I came to realize I was loved a lot.
That was profound. Thank you. Wow, so profound. Okay. So we're going to sing. I believe I have the hymn here. I'm not going to lead it. But it's, God is thy faithfulness. Thank you.
Please stand with us. Great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not, thy compassions, they fail not. As thou hast been, thou forever wilt be. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. In summer and winter and springtime and harvest, sun, moon, and stars in their courses above join with all nature in manifold witness to thy great faithfulness, mercy, and love. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness.
now we'd like to hear from Charlene Andrews. Charlene, are you here? Oh, Charlene not here? Oh. Then the next on the list would be Robert Thody. Bobby. That's our affectionate name for Robert. Nobody else calls him that, just us. Bobby. Here we go, buddy.
My name is Bobby. I was originally from England, but came to Cambridge, Canada in 1983 to do a School of Creative Ministry, which is where I first met Colin and Maureen. They were in charge of the School of Creative Ministry, and I was a qualified art teacher and had been praying where I should pursue my skills and my love of the arts. Colin was an amazing teacher and a wonderful mentor. He had passion and purpose for the arts and enabled me to grow in my faith and love of the arts. He guided me into leadership, through which I became the director of the School of Creative Ministry. It was a daunting task creating curriculum, employing international artists, and accepting students from many nations. But he gave me the opportunity, and I loved it and learned so much from it. After leaving YWAM, I was employed by the Cambridge Art Gallery as an education officer, and I used that myriad of skills that I learnt there to teach children, teen, and adult programs. Brooke spoke wonderful words, and I just want to bring a little memory of when Colin gave me the task of teaching Paul and Mark. They were teenagers at the time, and they'd been given permission to join the school to travel to China. And I was to be their teacher. He wanted them to learn the skills as well as see the beautiful experience of seeing other nations. So while the Toymaker and team continued their performances, they were teenagers, released from school, but held captive while I taught them very many lessons in dark, humid hotel rooms or the back of the tour bus. But what it spoke to me about was Colin's love for Paul and Mark. He wanted them with him, and he loved them dearly. And that's what spoke to me through doing that. While we were seeing many different places and countries, I saw the love that not only he had for Paul and Mark, but Maureen, and how they were a wonderful team. And that's what spoke to me the most. And yeah, they're still a beautiful family. They are a beautiful family. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. So we'll have the award-winning playwright, Gary Kirkham.
I have my resume for everybody to read later. It was 45 years ago, probably to the day, that I was in the most ugliest place you can imagine. It's a food court in an 80s mall. And then I heard this voice in the air. Long ago, far away, surrounded by beings he had made, lived Toymaker and Son. And in the next 58 minutes, the world disappeared, and I saw the universe being created. I saw the Garden of Eden. I saw the fall of the angels. I saw Golgotha. I saw Lazarus raised from the dead. And I saw my future. I go, this is what I will do for the rest of my life. And now the reason I was in the mall was because Beth Newell had joined Youth in Mission and invited me. And then I saw Beth at the end, and she ran to me, Gary, I'm dancing for Jesus. And 3 months later, I was in Youth of the Mission. And then 2 months later, we were going to do Toymaker and Son. And so Colin walked into the rehearsal hall. No, he didn't. Sorry, he sauntered into the rehearsal hall. He was so impressive, like from 20 feet away. He was like, "Who must have something great to say?" And this is the weird thing. I've heard Colin speak dozens, maybe 100 times over the years. I have no memory of anything he's ever said. It's gone from my brain. But what has stayed with me is what he did and who he was and how he lived. And that changed me. That transformed me. He set a spark in... He told us the stupidest thing you can tell a bunch of young people, that they have the potential to be a great artist. And we were so stupid that we believed him. And 45 years ago, I'm still deluded with a bunch of us here. And so he did that. And, I'll show you one thing he did. He did this thing. He put this music on, and then he would walk like this. And he'd go, "I want you to walk like this. I want you to put like this. And grab an axe and chop it. Throw the axe away. And then pick up the log and throw it away." And I went, "Oh, okay." And he said, "Now abstract it. And abstract it." And we spent the next, 20 minutes abstracting it. And then we were dancing like this. "Oh my God, I'm dancing for Jesus!" It was crazy. And Colin really instilled within us. We taught Toymaker and Son in like a week. I've been doing theater for 45 years, and you do not learn anything in a week. And then he just shoot us out. Sort of like birds in a nest. Birds are never ready to fly. They just push them out and hope for the frigging best. And then, and that's what we did. We had no idea what we were doing, but we did it with such passion. And really, within months, all of a sudden doing it, all of a sudden we got kind of good. And then we went, I'm learning to fly. And we were learning to fly because Colin trusted us with a smidgen of stuff. And then he would get the toys. I love this. The toys, he would teach them, and he goes, "All right, toys, go off and do something, and then come back." And we'd have to go away and then do something and then come back. And that weird thing, that never ended. So we'd be in China somewhere, and then Tom goes, "Hey, Gary, Blennis, Carolyn, come with me. We're going to redo the toy scene." And this is like 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're redoing it in China somewhere. And we kept on redoing it and redoing it and redoing it. And that has stayed with me my entire life, that you can start doing it because you're never ready enough. And he taught within this. And I've been in the theater now for 45 years, and I have so many weird Toymaker and Son stories. Okay, so there's several of them that are not appropriate for here. I will tell those. Oh, there we go. I will tell those later. Maybe in the lobby. There's one I have to say behind the dumpster with Tom. But this is one. This is going on the gray zone, but I got Cindy said it was okay, so Cynthia said it's okay. So when I was with, after Youth and Mission, I joined and worked with Modaso earlier days, and we were working with Beth Newell then. And Beth was working in a dance store, and she was starting to get the edges of bitterness, and she was complaining. And I said, "Oh, can I borrow your cigarette?" Because we were smoking in bars. That's how long ago it was. And I go, "Oh, I used to dance. Used to. Before the knees went. You know what they say, those who can't dance, choreograph. Those who can't choreograph, teach. And those who can't teach, sell the crap." So I did this, and then somebody overheard me doing this in the theater and go, "That's a play." I go, No, we'll do it. 2 weeks' time, you can do that play. We have a one-act festival. So I did this play. I'm playing Beth, and people like it, and all of a sudden I'm touring and doing this in different festivals. So now, fast forward about few years, and this festival was at an international festival thing, and I was at a bar that was actually a gay bar during the night, during the off weeks, during the weekend, but during the week it was a theater space. And now I'm sitting there doing Beth, and I have somebody doing my makeup. So maybe, I don't know if you picture this or not, but whatever. I was sitting there in my underwear with my wife's bra on, sitting there, and she's doing the makeup. And in the play, there's this line that Beth says. She goes, I saw these feet once, beautiful. Laura thought it was playing Mary in a Fabricante de Muñecos as Wihu. In the tomb scene, she came out barefoot. And somebody said, so what's that El Fabricante de Muñecos Wihu thing? I go, oh, that's Toymaker and Son. She says, what's that? And now, old habits die hard, and so I go, I think I have to tell her the story of Toymaker and Son. So now I'm talking about the Toymaker and Son story, half naked with a bra on, with feather boas around me. And this drag queen walks in and then looks at me and goes, oh my God, only a straight man would put on a bra like that. And then gives me a kiss on the cheek, leaves. And then I had this sort of vortex of going, where have I been? Where have I gone? How did I get from YWAM to here? But I think Colin's going, just keep on telling the story. So, the barrier. Yeah. So, and right now, I'm actually, weirdly enough, I'm working on this play. There's this young playwright who was a kid in YWAM when the YWAM base closed, Hannah Folger. And she was there, and the base closed down, and her parents squatted and were living illegally in the buildings as they were closing down, and they have to go, the power was off in one building, the water was off in the other, so they had to go around. And she was talking about how being in that space and coming to grips with all this tragedy, she is an artist because of the people, and Colin's, the school that he set up that changed her life. She says, I'm sitting here in this building, in this city, in this country, because there was a perfect place for a ragtag group of creative Christians to set up a missionary school and to change the world. Thank you, Colin, for changing our lives. Okay.
That was Gary. It's interesting. You thought when I got up, oh, he's kind of interesting and colorful and odd. But you got to realize that this is like in the movie E.T. You know, at the end when E.T. actually boards the mothership? E.T. by himself seems kind of interesting and colorful, and then you see him with all the other E.T.s. Then you realize, wait, he's just the normal E.T. So, thank you, Gary, for normalizing all of the color that comes on this stage. So we have Charlene Andrews next. Charlene Andrews is here, after all. And Charlene, if you'd like to speak. Oh, there we are, my dear. Oh, sweet. Great.
Well, this is what happens when you don't have GPS or 4 pages of directions, and I end up in Woodstock. I had to stop 4 times to get directions because the directions they gave me were wrong. Anyways, here I am. I prayed that I could make it before 3 o'clock, and I did. Okay, well, Gary will be a hard act to follow, but this is my act. Colin Harbinson, the man of the hour. There once was an English gentleman who lived in this town. Everyone would agree no finer artist could be found. Gifted with creativity that soared high into the sky. Whatever he thought of, he said, well, I'll give that a try. And so he wrote and he wrote until the day was done. And out of his creative mind came Toymaker and Son. He had a purpose in mind, more stories to be told. He married his deep faith with culture. Together, would one day unfold. Diligent, conscientious, loyal, and true. These qualities he had, perhaps, are found only in a few. Colin and Maureen, 2 partners in crime, who inspired us all. They traveled the world, leading tours and schools. That was their call. Colin encouraged us all to spread our wings, to soar up into the sky, your creativity is God-given," he said, "so give it a try." Colin was a man of wisdom, integrity, a leader, a teacher, and friend. He shared the gospel in so many ways, a lasting legacy that lives on even today. Colin, my life has been enriched having known you. In many ways, I am now just realizing that during my YWAM years, you and Maureen believed in me. I discovered I could be a leader, and seeds of creativity started to grow. Thank you, Colin, for what you imparted into my life. You truly are the man of the hour.
Now we have somewhat of an international guest. We have Tom Newman. Yes, from Oklahoma still? Is it from Oklahoma? It is. Yeah, there we go.
I'm not going to be near as colorful as the rest. I'm sorry. January 19th, 1982, I was the missions director of a rather large church of about 10,000 members in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And as a missions director, I would hear reports of different things that were happening around the world in the evangelical sense. And I heard little snippets about Toymaker and Son. And I had a friend who came to me one day and he said, "Do you by any chance know of any reason why we could go to Toronto, Canada?" And I said, "Why would we do that?" He said, "American Airlines has announced an American Airlines program, the Advantage program, and they gave you double miles if you flew to Toronto." And I said, "Well, I've heard about a drama that I'd like to see." As a missions director, it was doing some great things around the world. And I called and I spoke with Maureen, and we brought together a basketball team and a bunch of school kids. 107 of us flew because a businessman underwrote the cost of all that. And I said, "Could we please put on that show, Toymaker and Son?" Maureen was the king cat that night. And we brought this large group with us, and there were some other folks that came. And my responsibility, my only responsibility that night, was to try to take up an offering after the performance was over. I thought, well, that's not a problem. When I watched that show, I was so profoundly impacted, I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't catch my breath. I literally, and my own children were there. I had two of my 4 children were born at the time. And I had to go outside. I mean, this was going on and on. I mean, this is not 2 minutes. This is not 3 minutes. This is like 12 minutes, and I can't compose myself because I'm just racked on the inside. When I became a Christian in 1975, it was during the end of the Vietnam War, and I was in Korea in the Army. And I was born again under a very strict denomination. And I loved music, and I loved dance, and I was told to put all that stuff away. And I had no freedom in my faith. And I was very restrictive in what I was doing. And I saw this thing that it was Pink Floyd and Vangelis. It was utter nonsense. And I mean, Maureen was the king cat, and it was rock and roll, and it was on. And everything inside of me screamed to be free. And I got free that night. I got free. I loved Jesus, and I just wanted to serve him, but I thought by serving him, I had to give up everything that was contemporary and express it in faith. And it was just the greatest catharsis I can imagine. And again, that's why the explanation of why I could not stop sobbing because of what I'd just seen. And Colin, I don't know how God spoke to him that night. I never did really talk to him about it, but he came up, and I finally got the offering done. My wife came to me finally and said, "Tom, you're scaring the children. Please get this over with." And we got it done, and Colin came and he put his arm around me, and he said, "I don't know what this means." He said, "But the Lord said, if you would like to do something with this drama of the Toymaker, that I'm to help you do that. And I said, I don't even know what this means except to say yes. And it was the beginning of what Impact Productions and Reaching a Sight and Sound Generation, and we toured for 18 years with Toymaker. We took it all around the world. In the former Soviet Union, we performed in the greatest halls all around the world, literally. We went all through Eastern Europe when it was Romania and Bulgaria. Oh, we just went all over. And we performed in front of over 4.5, 5 million people. So over 500,000 people give their hearts to Christ. And I've never stopped being free, and I've never stopped being able to pursue all that God has given me. And Colin and I went into a major time where we sent love letters to each other through attorneys. If anybody of you know me, it would be through that reputation up in here, in this area, especially if you were the YWAMers back in the time, that evil Tom Newman down in Tulsa. And I remember the late Floyd McClung and Lauren Cunningham. They had a talk with Colin and I in Boise, Idaho, about the same time over a 2-week period of time. And they both told us the same thing, that it would be a race to the cross. And Colin and I couldn't seem to get it figured out together. And we exchanged, like I said, love letters with attorneys for a few years. And then finally, something that Floyd McClung had said, he said, do you believe that Colin Harbinson loves the Lord and that he would be obedient? I said, yeah, I believe that. He said, well, why don't you reach out to him at some point? So I called Colin. He said, we're supposed to talk to each other through attorneys. I said, I know, Colin. I said, but we've been doing this for about 5 years and we're still not reconciled. Why don't we try something else? And I said, why don't we do this? I'll rent a hotel room in Toronto. You and I will go into that hotel room and I'll rent it for 3 days. And we will settle our differences somehow. If we can't figure it out in the hotel room, we'll go out on the lawn and we'll fight. Whatever you want to do, we're going to, let's deal with this because, and I said this to him, I said, I do believe that you love the Lord and you want to follow what God has for you. And I said, can you believe that I love the Lord and that I want to do? And he said, I can believe that. So we went up, and I think it was 2.5 days, we were in the hotel. And we came out, and we're great friends. Colin went on to be at Bellhaven. My daughter went there and went to school under his tutelage. We've had a remarkable run. And I can say that we still continue to reach a sight and sound generation. Colin is one of the 4 men that have most impacted my life. His example and him setting me free and the amount of people that he set free around the world through what he's done is never ending. And I'll be forever grateful for both Maureen and Colin. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. So we have, Karen Johnson is going to sing for us. Sorry? A video. Karen Johnson, in digital form, is going to sing for us.
Dear ones, it is just an honor and a joy to be able to share with you. Love Colin, love you Maureen, Mark, Paul, your families, and it is well. It is well. It is well. We declare that today. It is well with our souls.
That was wonderful. I forgot my 3D glasses, but still, that would look great on the screen. But it was a beautiful sound. We'll have Abby Lopez speaking next. I believe. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, Abby. My mistake. It's Stephen Flipowitz on the list. My mistake. Go for it, Stephen.
Like Tom and many of the others who were here, we were with Colin and Maureen back in the early 80s, performing Toymaker and Son and Dayuma, and doing dramatic dance workshops. So one of, Gary so eloquently showed the chopping wood exercise. And I wanted to just show that to you again. It's funny how we're both thinking the same thing, but there would be people who would come to these workshops, much like Tom, who were wanting to express, loved music, but didn't know how. So Colin had lots of exercises, one of them being chopping wood, to help a person make that leap from doing an ordinary movement to more a creative expression. And so just to go over that one more time, Gary, where we would carry a log in, put it down, then head back and get an axe, head back to the log and chop it until it was in two, toss the axe, then pick up the pieces and toss the pieces. So, and it sounds odd, but we would
Thanks, Stephen. Just a beautiful simplicity. It's great. Abby Lopez. Let me help you with this. I've noticed everyone's been struggling with these microphones.
Yeah. Hi. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Abby Lopez. I'm one of Colin's granddaughters. I was very blessed the day that Paul Harbinson married my mom. With that came another nanny and my first pop-ups. My last name's not the same, and I may not have their DNA, but there was never the word step in our vocabulary as a mixed family. Colin and Maureen never called me their step-granddaughter. I was in it. I was a granddaughter. I was part of a wild and amazing family. When my mom and I had just first joined the family and would be around my pop-ups, we were a little intimidated. Here was this elegant, fashionable, articulate, and what I figured would be like in the movies, stoic British man that had been around the world teaching the Word of God and was a little bit famous. I got over that pretty quickly, like Brooke says. But we were very much trying to make a good impression. And it turns out I was way off about the stoic part. But Colin was all those things that we thought, but he was also kind and passionate and funny and probably one of the most loving men I've ever met. My pop-ups would hug me like he had been doing it since I was a baby. Like there were no 11 years between the moment I was born and the day Paul proposed to my mom. There are many stories I could share about my pop-ups, but the one I want to talk about is from when Paul, my mom, and I visited Nanny and pop-ups in Jackson, Mississippi. It was the first time that I had been on a plane and out of the country when I was like old enough to remember. I was so excited to see everything, for getting to go to Cracker Barrel, to visiting the little lighthouse, to getting a tour of Belhaven, after which I swore that I would go to as a dancer when I was older, and that was with no dance experience or training. On this trip, I also learned one of my favorite and least favorite things about my pop-ups, and that was his ability to explore new places like he had lived there for years. This was the day we had yays, walked down Bourbon Street, and had even gotten one of the masks they used at Mardi Gras. I'm a very indecisive person, and so for my pop-ups, he decided I was taking a little too long picking out a mask. So he continued to walk. And for the people that know me, I struggle with anxiety. So I imagine the worst outcomes at almost all points in life. And this was still the case as my 12-year-old self in New Orleans worrying about her pop-ups, that was too old to wander off alone and that he would get lost and I'd never see him again. He'd be confused. Nanny and Paul, of course, reassured me that this is what pop-ups does and not to worry. I spent the rest of the day by my mom's side, making sure I lost sight of no one else. When we sat down for the first time after walking in New Orleans heat for what seemed like forever to me, and not having seen pop-ups for a while, sitting on the stairs listening to jazz street performers, here comes pop-ups, sauntering in again, with no worry whatsoever. I had underestimated the wrong man. He wasn't confused or scared that he had lost us. He was just happy, and he had a great day, and he knew he would catch up with us. Nanny had let him know that I was worried, and he had apologized for that. For me, as someone who has anxiety and needs to plan her every step, I always admired my pop-ups for his sureness in himself. But as I got to know him more and grew, and I realized that it wasn't his sureness in himself, but his sureness in God. Everyone here knows that my pop-ups was an advocate for the arts to be used in Christian faith. a mission God had given him, and Pop-Ups took with that sureness of his that God would be with him in all of it. Pop-Ups created plays and books, spoke to thousands, and wrote articles about art and faith. The one verse, maybe not even a full verse, but first couple words that Pop-Ups would always remind people of from the first sentence of the Bible, Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God created. Pop-Ups always reminded us that God was the greatest artist the world will ever know, above the works of William Shakespeare, Pablo Picasso, Maya Angelou, Vincent van Gogh, and so many other artists that are revered. God created when there was nothing else in this world. He created the trees and the stars, the animals and people, the things that other artists nowadays use to paint, write, make plays, and other forms of art mediums to inspire their art. As it says in Ephesians 2:10, God created us as his masterpiece. In Psalms 139:3, he says he knit us together in our mother's wombs. He creates beautiful new masterpieces as a baby is born every day. I just got my first niece recently, and I have never seen a more beautiful piece of art. My Pop-Ups reminded people of God's artistry in everything we see in the world. He reminded us that because of sin, that art has been taken and used in ways that are not used to praise God. If it were my Pop-Ups here today, and he wanted you to take anything away from his celebration of life, it would be to love God, to remember that we were created by the greatest artist the world will ever know, that God sees each and every one of us as a masterpiece, to go out, praise, and show the truth of God's love through the artistry and abilities that God has gifted us with. Thank you to my Pop-Ups. I will miss you every day, and I love you. But I know you're dancing joyfully in heaven with God. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. That was lovely. John Franklin is going to speak at this moment. I'm sizing him up. Where shall I? Let's see. Okay.
Hello. It's at a moment like this when one thinks it would have been wise if I had have scripted myself a little bit, but here I am to make a few comments about a dear friend that we're here to honor today. Colin was a pioneer, and he was a person who was prepared to build bridges. He was a champion of the arts at a time when in faith communities, the arts weren't real well received. In fact, a lot of people wondered why you were spending your time or wasting your time with the arts. Colin was undaunted by that. That didn't trouble him at all, because he knew what was just mentioned, that doctrine of creation, and he took it seriously. I don't know when Colin and I first met, and I should just say that over how many years have I been doing this? 1998. I think I began with an organization around faith and the arts. So it's in that context that our lives intersected. But even before then, I was at a Christian college, and I invited Colin to come along with a troupe and do a performance of Toymaker and Son, which he did, and it was very, very well received. I think that was my first experience with Colin. But we had many, many conversations subsequently, and I think what I want to do is tell you a little bit of a story about a project that we were involved in. related to mission. At the heart of the Christian faith is the call to bear witness. Colin bore witness in his own creative and innovative way. But an invitation came to be part of a conversation that was going to be happening over in Pattaya, in Thailand. And we got word of this, and three of us from the Toronto area, one of whom is here today, James Tugan, and Phyllis Novak, who did arts-related work with street-involved youth, and myself, kind of stuck in the academy. The three of us, we were invited to go to this event. And part of the narrative for this was, would everybody who's coming to this, the 40 people who are going to be talking about the arts and mission, would you please give us a list of 3 things that you think are important for us to discuss when we're in Pattaya? Well, forgive me, but I'm going to give you those 3 things that we came up with. So James and Phyllis and I decided, let's not send him 9 things. Let's send him 3, and it can be from the 3 of us. Arts and a renewed theological vision, arts and discipleship in the church, and arts and the transformation of culture. And we wrote him about a 6-page piece for him to have a look at. Well, it wasn't long until we got a phone call from him to say, hey, you guys. He was very practical. He said, we're going to be having discussions, and if we chose these 3 things, could you folks lead the discussions for us? We thought we were just going to go and attend, and we somewhat, I think, naively said, sure, we'll lead the discussions. Well, there we were in Thailand leading the discussions, and it wasn't long until Colin pulled us aside and said, we've got to write about a 60-page paper. Could I get you 3 to pull that paper together? Ever good at taking an opportunity to get some assistance. And we again said yes. It was a great experience. I'm sure James would say the same. It was a great experience, and we produced a little paper called Redeeming the Arts. Colin's leadership was strong. His vision was broad and energetic. He provided a lot of leadership, and as I say, was a pioneer at a time when many people wondered why you were spending your time doing that. I think we have much to be grateful for Colin and his vision and his patience with the community that he often had to work with, who couldn't understand what he was doing or where he was going. One of the things that was said earlier, Gary, it may have been you who said it, but is that sometimes you don't know what you're doing, but you're passionate about it, right? You're not quite sure where it's going, but there's something within you that says, I've got to do this. And I think that's part of the creative process. That's part of what art calls us to. That creativity, that willingness to move ahead even though you don't know exactly where you're going. And why that's such a problem in our culture is because we're in a culture where management and control is all important. And if you're in the world of creativity, management and control is not the issue. Receptivity, listening, being open, and Colin was able to do that. Now, I want to say that I think that we're talking a lot about Colin here, but there is no doubt that what Colin was able to do was because of who was beside him. Someone he could speak with, someone who understood him, someone who got it when it came to the arts. That was you, Maureen. And you were a support to that sort of kept him moving. I'm sure there were times where he said, oh, I don't know if I want to keep going. And you would say, yes, let's keep going. I'm sure that's true. So there's a team here. And then there's the wonderful and important nudging of the Holy Spirit, which I know Colin, that was important in his life and for you too, Maureen. So we have much to be grateful for today for the life of Colin Harbinson. I'm glad that our paths crossed. I enjoyed our conversations, and we met on a few occasions since he moved to this part of the country. And I'm grateful. I'm very grateful for him. And I trust that the legacy that he has left and the lives that he has touched will continue to bear fruit, to be generative in the world of the arts and in the world of faith. And I'm able to say with a measure of confidence that when it comes to Colin, we will meet again because of our faith. We know that the world as it is not the world as it ought to be, and it isn't finished yet. There's a promise that all things will be made new, and for that we can be grateful. So Maureen, bless you and the family. I'm very grateful for Colin and for the opportunity I had to have our lives intersect and to do some things together. Thank you.
We also have Roger Nix will be joining us. Roger.
I'm greetings from Tulsa and a host of friends who loved Colin and Maureen as well, and to the family. Psalm 116:5 says, "Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his faithful servants." And I'm not sure I know a more faithful servant than Colin. I met Colin and Maureen on that same trip that Tom talked about in January of 1982. I was 20 years old, involved in missions and passionate about evangelism, and had committed my life to serve the Lord. And so when Tom asked me to help chaperone a group of high school students to come to this workshop, I was all in. And I remember Colin leading us in those infamous theatrical exercises that we have seen so beautifully demonstrated here today. And I was part of that, and that was fun and exciting. But as Tom said, when Toymaker and Son when they presented, after they presented Toymaker and Son, there were no words. There were just tears. And it was a joy and a witness, a joy to witness the inspiration of the Holy Spirit through the arts. I'd never fully experienced that before like I had that day. And so thanks to Colin's creativity, I spent the next 15 years of my life in tights, costume, and makeup, playing the devil. Thank you, Colin. Someone once said that it's not so much what you do with your life, but what you set in motion. And Colin's life and creativity were catalytic, as we've heard over and over and over again. The simple retelling of the gospel in a way that could capture the hearts of young and old alike has touched the lives of millions of people. What a legacy, eh? And Colin's life impacted mine personally. I've always appreciated Colin's heart and soul for both the gospel and the arts. Very few people could bring the gospel and the arts together like Colin could and keep them integrated in a way that would preserve the integrity of both. But of all the things I loved, and there were many, one of the things I loved most was watching Colin and Maureen together. Maureen, your joy, your laughter were contagious, and you would never let Colin take himself too seriously. And for that, we all thank you. As I think about his life, his legacy, I'm reminded of an excerpt from a poem by Maya Angelou called "When Great Trees Fall." And so how appropriate for a great artist like Colin to share a bit of poetry. This is part of the excerpt from that poem. It says, "When great trees fall, rocks on distant hills shudder, lions hunker down in tall grasses, and even elephants lumber after safety. When great souls die, The air around us becomes light, rare, sterile. Our eyes briefly see with hurtful clarity. Our memory suddenly sharpened, and when great souls die after a period, peace blooms, slowly and always irregularly. Our senses restored, never to be the same, whisper to us, they existed, they existed. We can be and be better, for they existed. Colin's life and death have reverberated through the earth like a great tree fallen, because Colin himself was a great soul, a great friend, a great father in the faith. And because of all of that, we can be and be better in the shadow of his legacy. Colin, I love you. Maureen, I love you. God bless.
We also have Steve Tadlock, who'd like to join us.
Thank you. How in the world did Colin have all the time to be best friends with all you people? I don't understand. My name is Steve Tadlock. I'm from Jackson, Mississippi. My wife, Tammy, is here with me. So we met Colin during his tenure at Belhaven and Maureen, and I swear there's never been a single person in my life that had such an impact on every person in my family. Me, my wife, because Colin had a great thing to do with both of my kids. One was an art major at Belhaven. He had in his mind that he was going to go to Vancouver to art school, and then he met Colin, and Colin changed his mind. We've got a pretty special place here at Belhaven, and we want you to come here. And he convinced him of doing that, so we're so thankful for that. What a great legacy that is. He's right now making a living as an artist. So not too many people actually do the things that they study for, but he did. And my other son, let me get back to one other thing. When we met Colin and Maureen, we were going to church at a place called Church at North Shore. And they lived down the road, and they started coming there because I think they met Chuck in the front yard cutting the grass or something like that. And so they started going there, and that's how our paths crossed. I was a worship pastor there at the time, and they came aboard, and we started having a great time. We started to know each other pretty well. And so we started a small group, and when he would come to church, you know, Colin dressed to the nines. He always was dressed to the nines. And when he started coming to our small group, he also dressed to the nines. So finally I asked him one day at church, I said, do you even own a pair of blue jeans? And then the next time he showed up, they got out of that little green Volkswagen. He opened the door and he says, here he was, he's standing there in blue jeans. And I thought, well, there you are. What a great thing. I have a message here that was written by my son Seth, who's in France studying right now. He had a great impact on him as well. So I'm going to read that from Seth. He says, I'm not entirely sure what to say about Colin Harbinson. He's one of the most English people I've ever met. A true English gentleman. He was proper the way a well-written sentence is proper. Graceful, balanced, and quietly exacting. Colin was a man of the arts, a playwright with the kind of eyes that saw the story unfolding in a room before the first line had even been spoken. He paid attention not just to what people said, but to the silences between their words. He noticed color. He noticed light. He believed in the power of beauty, especially when the world gave us reasons to doubt it. He and I were friends for over 2 decades, and that's a long time to know someone, long enough to share proper tea, great coffee, deep laughter, and a few long silences that meant more than most conversations. He introduced me to Manchester United, one of the great gifts of my life. and also one of the most bewildering. Being a United fan, especially today, is a bit like being in a long-term relationship with someone you love deeply, but who insists on making terrible choices. But maybe that's why Colin gave it to me. Maybe he knew before I did that I'd need something to hold on to when the storms rolled in, that I'd need the joy, the frustration, the ritual of shared hope. In one of the darkest moments of my life, when everything felt upside down and a little hollow, Colin told me he thought of me as a son. I'm not sure if that was meant as praise for me or a slight to his actual sons, but I've carried it with me ever since. A small, steady truth in a world that can be loud and cruel. He was good company in football and in life, and in the end, maybe that's the best thing you can say about a person, that they made the world a little less lonely.
So we'll have a hymn, Goodness of God.
Please stand with us.
All my life you have been so, so
Thank you.
We have a video from B.J. Johnson. Is that correct? Okay.
The Toy Maker Smiles, a rhyme in honor of our dear friend, Colin Harbinson. The early dawn was hushed and still. A whisper passed over vale and hill. A faithful servant heard his name, and heaven's halls ignited flame. Not with applause or earthly cheer, but with a welcome crystal clear. Well done, the King of Glory said, as Colin's soul raised from his bed. He's danced through decades, wide and far, by stage and spotlight, ship and car, from Hackney's streets to China's gates. His life obeyed, his art was great. Toymaker's son, De Yuma too, story shaped in light and even truth, not simply scripts to stir the crowd, but sacred acts that cried aloud. He saw the artist in the clay. He framed the world through holy eyes, revealing grace beneath the skies. In every note, in every line, he showed that beauty is divine. And then when a dancer lifts their frame, the Lord of heaven signs his name. He made a way for others' light, called forth the hidden gifts to flight. He took the trembling by the hand and walked with them to promised land. He taught us how to lead with grace, to serve with art and run the race. And though his voice now sings above, his life still whispers, create and love. His hands helped draft Inspiro's birth. He fought for artists' sacred worth. He shattered walls that dimmed the view and painted vision bold and true. He built with patience, taught with care, sowed with God's kingdom everywhere. For Colin knew, like wind through trees, the Spirit speaks through symphonies. He mentioned and mentored many young and old, with kindness fierce and laughter bold. He saw beyond what others saw and walked in mercy, truth, and awe. To him, the brush, the bow, the stage were pulpit, promise, prayer, and page, not to perform, but to reveal the wounds that Christ alone can heal. And now he stands before the throne, at last at peace and greatly at home. His tremors stilled, his breath made whole. The fire of glory fills his soul. He sees the toy maker face to face, the one he served with art and grace. As he lays his crown way down low, the author smiles. He too would show. He would show that beauty lives where Christ is king. And art, when true, can make hearts sing and carry forth this honored name. So let us rise and lift the flame, for every canvas, line, or part still echoes Colin's servant heart. Until we meet him again in light, we'll tell God's stories and live them right. Amen. The toy maker's son has come home. He is gone, not gone away, but further in and farther up, where beauty is no longer glimpsed in shadow, but shines full face from the throne of grace. In the early hours, a still small voice whispered, "Well done, good and faithful servant." And the artist laid down his brush. The playwright closed the page. The toy maker's son had come home. He knew beauty not as an ornament, but as language, a native tongue of heaven. With vision fierce and humble hands, he carved spaces for dancers, singers, painters, poets, to proclaim Christ in color, in movement, in light. He built cathedrals of imagination, not for applause, but for worship. He reminded us, art is not an escape. It is incarnation. It is the echo of Eden and the whisper of the Lamb. He walked across stages and cities, from London to Mississippi, from Bulgaria to China, Russia, from Toymaker to Deyuma, truth in every gesture, Jesus in every story. He taught us how to paint with light, to pierce darkness with drama, to let excellence preach where words once failed. Mentor, father, pop-pops, friend, to many he was the first voice that said, "You belong here. You are seen." He believed in beauty when others called it distraction. He believed in artists when others saw only rebels. He saw fire in the clay and called it good. Now the great drama finds its final act. And he who for so long directed the dance joins the chorus unseen, resurrected, whole, free. His body no longer trembles. His spirit no longer waits. He stands before the toy maker, not as a character, but as a son. And the author of beauty smiles. We will carry his lines in our scripts, his truth in our tones, his fingerprints in our frames. His legacy is not past tense. It breathes in every student he mentored, every friend he lifted, every soul he pointed toward the light. So we do not say goodbye. We say, encore, encore. Dear friend, dance again in the halls of heaven. We will meet you in the final scene. When all the world becomes the stage of glory and every heart the artist's canvas of praise. Dance, get ready. We soon shall come as well. Colin's Voyage by Henry Van Dyke. We are standing upon the seashore. A ship at our side named Colin spreads his white sails to the morning breeze and starts for the blue ocean. Colin is an object of beauty and strength. We stand and watch him until at length he hangs like a speck of white cloud just where the sea and the sky come to mingle with each other. Then, wiping a tear, someone at my side says, "There, Colin is gone." Gone where? Gone from my sight. That is all. He is just as large in mast and hull and spar as he was when he left our side, and he is just as able to bear his load of living freight to his destined port. His size is diminished in us, not in him. And just at the moment when someone says, "Colin is gone," there are other voices on the other side watching him coming, and other voices ready to take up the glad shout, "Look, it's him! Here comes Colin!" and that is living after dying. Here comes Colin.
So if BJ Johnson and also Karen Johnson are watching the live stream, thank you for your contributions online like this, the recorded versions. They really made you feel present. So really, we thank you for that. It was really quite profound, both of your performances. Now, I'd like to introduce Lisa Harbinson.
Excuse me for my nerves. Colin Harbinson was my father-in-law by law, but dad by heart. Sorry. But my dad by heart. I lost my father when I was about 10 years old, and for many years I didn't have a father figure in my life. And that changed on October 1st, 2010. The day Colin and Maureen welcomed me into their hearts. They told me I could call them Mum and Dad, and also being reminded that Mum is spelled M-U-M. From that moment on, Dad's kindness and unwavering love for his family extended to me without hesitation. He embraced me as part of the family, not out of obligation, but with the sincerity and warmth that he gave to his family. Whether it was listening to his stories of his incredible life or watching him walk so faithfully and authentically with God, I learned from Dad that I could never put into words. Every birthday or family gathering, dinners and desserts was a group effort. But without fail, Dad would always put one request in. Lisa, you're bringing your banana cream pie, right? And with that smile of his, I said, how could I refuse? And that became a tradition and one that I'll always keep close to my heart. When we had our barbecues, Dad had a firm stance on hot dogs. He called them rubbish. And he always passed on them. But in recent years, something changed, and he grew to like hot dogs. So on our special trips, our annual trips to Port Dover, that we'd always make a special time with him, he'd go for an arbor dog, which is a nice big hot dog from that special place. And it was funny how the small little things like that become treasured memories. Dad was always there to listen, to guide, to provide wisdom and support. And as an English teacher, he was always the one we all turned to for our essays or reports that needed proofreading. So you knew if Dad got it and looked at it, it would come back polished, detailed, and better than ever. He never missed a thing. One of the things that I truly loved about Dad was that his wonderful sense of humor. It didn't matter how he was feeling, he'd always find a way to bring a smile to our faces. Whenever we called him or asked him, how are you doing today, Dad? He had a quick and classic response, and it was always good, I think, followed by the familiar look in his eyes that made you smile. And on the days when he wasn't feeling the best, we'd still give him that call, and he'd want to lift his spirits. We'd ask, are you feeling any better today, Dad? And with the same warm smile, he answered, more better. A phrase that never failed to catch us off guard and make us laugh. In the small moments that his joy, resilience, and lightheartedness shone the brightest. Dad, you will be dearly missed. We will treasure you in our hearts forever, and we will carry you forward that you gave us all your love, your wisdom, your unwavering faith in God, and your beautiful example of what it means to walk humbly and faithfully through life. Thank you for being my dad.
person who squeaked in. They had to travel all the way from Thunder Bay to do it. But we have Hank Polke. Wasn't on the list, but there he is now. Hank Polke. And you'll see what I mean when he speaks. Hank, are you here? Or have you gone back to Thunder Bay? There you are, Hank. Now, I must prepare you. Hank is Finnish. That's all I have to say.
I hope you'll brought lunch because this is going to take a while. No, not serious. I have to say something about Tom. When Tom came to YWAM, and I think it was Maureen who sent Tom to our apartment after he met you. And Tom comes, and that time his name was Ripley. So he comes and opens the door, so he knocks on the door and says, "My name is Tom Ripley, believe it or not." We have a wild one here. My goodness. We met Colin and Maureen and the boys 1980 when we took our own course, and two of our sons are same age as Mark and Paul, and they became good friends, and it always has been a huge mystery to me. What did Colin and I have in common? Artistically, nothing. There's a rumor that apparently I did some kind of a skit, and that's been demonstrated here tonight, that I apparently did the wood chopping skit in Cambridge. Some of you reminded me of that today. And so I think what happened was in the great Ministry School of Fine Arts, they wanted someone to demonstrate how not to do the skit. I'm sure that was the case. And so Colin and myself and Maureen and Perko, my wife, we became really good friends. We met in 1980, and we've been friends ever since. Must be 45 years now. And what's interesting, when we get together, there is merciless teasing, and we can only get away with Maureen and Colin the way we communicate with one another. And it's hard when I heard all these stories and the titles. Okay, now what do I have to? I've marked it down actually. Doctor, Reverend, he was a Dean of Fine Arts, and all those fine titles, and I'm thinking, are we talking about the same man? we had so much different fun together, you know. That's amazing. We started a ministry in Cuba, 1985. At that time, not too much was known about the church in Cuba, and we were able to knock on a door in the city of Matanzas one day, and we were dressed like not Cubans, and I tell you, we looked like typical tourists. And then the lady opens the door and says, look, with the 3 words of Spanish that I have, I asked if this is the house of Reverend Fernandez, and she looks at us, slams the door, and we're standing on the sidewalk. Then she hears the Spanish talking really loud, and their daughter comes out, and she's an English teacher, so she became our translator. We basically said, how can we help you? And we came to help you, and they said, well, we have been praying and sending letters, and we have not received anything back for ever kind of return for our letters. And about 6 weeks ago, Lord told us clearly that the help is coming. And that's when we were behind the door and said, we want to help you. And many trips and many people and many teams have gone to Cuba ever since. Okay, so Harbinsons came to Thunder Bay quite often. one time, Christmas time, when it was snowing, and people, they were coming to Thunder Bay, and they stopped at probably at the White River, and Wawa. Oh, they call it Wawa. Okay, and they in the conversation find out that they were coming to Thunder Bay, and the people said, why on earth would you want to go to Thunder Bay? People from Thunder Bay are leaving in the winter time. And why are you going there? But then we had such a deep friendship, so they came to spend Christmas with us. So one time, then we owned a camp. Well, you call them cottages, but we call them camps because the cottage is way too expensive for our taste. And those are cottages are in Muskoka. They cost $1 million, and we have camps. Anyway, so they came and spent the time. Well, it wasn't too bad. Like, it was a pretty good camp. And I have a small aluminum boat and a small motor, so I took Colin fishing. And so, of course, I had to operate the boat and the net and take the fish out of, not the fish, no, the lure out of fish mouth. So here I'm doing all this, and Harbinson was catching all the fish. Well, he was so tickled pink, and he was so pleased that I didn't get any fish. He got all the fish, all the fish. He was so proud of it. One time, it was early days when, I don't know if you, Mark, if you remember when we went to this wilderness lake. We had this old, rusty old Pontiac car, 1960-something, and the roof racks, and we threw a canoe. We didn't throw it. We tied a canoe on the top of the roof rack. And we went to this wilderness lake, down this path of the narrow road that the branches were scratching the side of the car. And we put the canoe in the water, and those guys, Roy and Mark, went fishing, and they started catching fish. So then we had a little Coleman stove, which we set it up on the back of the car, the trunk, and I filleted the fish, and we had some hash browns. So I made this fish fry for Colin. And you know, this is the biggest compliment the Englishman could tell a Finn. The biggest compliment is this is one of the best fried fish meals I've ever had. I said, wow, I have arrived now. I'm telling you, we have arrived. We did many trips together, and they came down often, and we came down, actually flew out to Mississippi to see them, and we had just a wonderful time. Colin couldn't get away with anything with us if he tried. One time we were coming back from Niagara Falls. We spent a weekend there, and then we were driving back to the airport. He was flying out somewhere. So he was complaining, and he was kind of sad that they didn't have the special lounge for that airline, that the Toronto airport did not have the lounge. Boy, he said that in the wrong crowd. I said, oh, you poor soul, how do you survive? I mean, you don't have a lounge now to go to. How can you possibly survive? He did not get away with anything when we four of us were together. It was just, and like I said, he was definitely by far one of my best friends. And I have really lost a best friend. Who do I call now and give a hard time to? I have no idea. Maybe I call Tom. I can call him Tom. One time we went to Native Reserve. I don't know do you know anything about North and Western Ontario? There are over 30 fly-in communities that there are no roads. You have to fly in there. There was one community that we knew the pastor there, a young fellow, and Colin and I flew down to Fort Hope, and he was able to teach the church there about the arts, how you apply your arts, the native arts, into the evangelism, and he was totally thrilled to be able to go there. And of course he got sick out of something, but that's another story. And but the amazing thing in these communities, the chief had a small hand drum, and during the worship, the chief was drumming, and Colin was just totally pleased to see that there's the chief of the community, Christian chief, during the worship, doing his hand drum. It's wonderful. And so we had done trips like that many, many times in different places, and so it's really interesting and how God can connect people that have no similar interest and similar talents. Like, I mean, far as comes to the talent in arts, I have none. My wife has, so she does watercolor, she does pottery, she does sour rye bread, and she does, you know, all this stuff. And now she's making homemade cheese right now. So, but I mean, other than that wood chopping, I know if someone reminded me of that today. Said, "You guys, how could you remember that? Because it was so bad. That's why you remember it." But it was just amazing. Over 40 years with Colin and Maureen. But of course, continue to cherish your friendship. But Colin is gone. But the memory and legacy he left in our lives is just so amazing and so wonderful. And I just thank God that he brought us together, and we spent all those years, decades together, and giving us one another a hard time, you know, and in love, of course, in love. So bless you, Maureen and family, and continue to pray for you and continue to cherish the memory. Amen.
Thanks, Hank. So we have Randall Flynn. It's a video. I believe he's going to be doing a dance.
Sooner or later, the lights up above will come down in circles and guide me to love. I don't know what's right for me, I cannot see straight. I've been here too long and I don't want to wait for it. Fly like a cannonball straight to my soul. Tear me to pieces and make me feel whole. I'm willing to fight for it, to feel something new, to know what it's like to be sharing a space with you. Fall on me with open arms. Fall on me from where you are. Fall on me with all your light, with all your light, with all your light.
Sooner or later it all comes apart. The walls are all shattered, I'm back at the start. But I'm willing to follow this wherever it goes. The heart has its reasons that nobody knows, and I wanna believe in a world we can't see. Millions of particles passing through me, and I know there's a meaning. I feel it, I swear. I can't see the future, but I know that it's there. Fall on me with open arms. Fall on me from where you are. Fall on me with all your light, with all your light, with all
My name is Randall Flynn, and I serve as the Artistic Director of Adeum Dance Company, a professional dance company based in Houston, Texas. I've been doing this for Colin and Auntie Marine. I met them in the mid-1980s as we were in southern Germany working for Youth with the Mission. Colin and Marine were guest speakers. I was teaching in a school of performing arts as a dance educator for Youth with the Mission. I heard Colin speak. He spoke about God, the master artist, and that we have been designed with the DNA of God's image impressed over our lives, spirit sealed, and that in turn we are to be cultivators. We are to make contributions of faith, hope, and love, and to serve this world with the good, the true, and the beautiful. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that Uncle Colin reached and touched and transformed so many lives by his ministry and his service to the Lord in reaching other people, especially the artist. I am just one of those artists that Uncle Colin has left a lasting and eternal impression upon. Uncle Colin, I love you, and I know you're directing in heaven right now. And buddy, I'll see you again, and we'll dance again.
Randall, if you're watching this live stream, just to say, had I known that was what I meant by Randall's going to dance, that's really quite the performance. It was a very fitting tribute to Colin. Thank you very much. And now, I would really, with great honor, introduce Maureen Harbinson to the microphone. Can I bring it down to you? Let's do this.
I don't really know what to say, but wow. I don't even know if I know this man. That's not true. It was such a joy to be with him and do the things he did. But I know people say this all the time. But to me, he was good old Cole. That's who he was to me. And I just want to say thank you for coming. I'm gobsmacked, as the British would say, with all that you said. And Gary, even on what you said, okay? And I just want to say thank you. But I'm going to do this publicly because I feel I need to. I cannot have gone through this time and through this last year with my kids, with my husband, if it wasn't for my kids. Mark, Paul, thank you. They did everything. I'm just getting, Mark used to take him and swing him in his arms and put him in bed. He'd say, whee, and put Colin into bed. Night after night after night. It's wonderful. So Colin and Paul and their wives and our dear grandchildren, despite what they say about me, thank you. Thank you very much. So I have nothing more to say. I know that sounds amazing coming from me, but I don't. Just thank you.
Thank you so much, Maureen. We're going to end very shortly with a prayer from Paul, but before we do, I'm just going to say one last thing. Paul, and stand up and sit down, and stand up, sit down. Just really quick, about almost a year and a half ago, Maureen, Colin, took Carolyn and I out for dinner. They do this. They go down to a restaurant down near their place in Woodstock, and we were sitting there having a grand old time, and I sat across from Colin, and he was quite frail. Quite, at this point, he was, you could see that things were moving along. And so Colin and I have this relationship. The things I could say to him, I don't know, I just get away with murder, I guess. But I said, Colin, let's be honest. Your memorial's coming up soon. It's going to happen. Times are coming. I love you, and Colin would just look me right in the eye and do, yeah. He says, well, Colin, I'd rather not say these things at the memorial. I'd rather say them to your face now. So I told him, Colin, you are an inspiration. You have affected the trajectory of my life. You are knit in my bones. In my creative spirit, you have a very warm and very special place. You have played a huge and incalculable role. I'm saying this to him over his fish and chips. And I'm noticing his eyes are getting watery and welling up. I think, oh, gee. We all know Colin was kind of like the Mr. Darcy of the Youth of the Mission world. In that, if you could get him to smile, just smirk, you did really well. Because he was a hard one to please. He really had high standards. And they laughed because they know. And he would smirk or smile. Now I'm seeing his eyes well up with tears. I'm going, oh my goodness. Colin, I hope I haven't been too forward or untoward in what I had said. Isn't that a great term? Untoward. And you have to say it like that. and he was, oh, Colin, but I really mean it. I love you. And man, when the time comes, I'm going to miss you. But I will say this as well. There's going to be an open mic at your memorial. And I can't help myself. And again, his eyes just welling up with tears. I said, Colin, is it okay? Have I said the wrong thing? He goes, the vinegar in these chips is just too strong. Yeah, well, thank you, Colin. Good. See you on the other side.
You want to take the quote? I also want to thank all of you for coming today. To read some of the things we've read over the Facebook over the last couple of weeks. Seems like months. The last couple of weeks, what had been said about Dad has touched our family a lot. It's been times of crying, there's been times of joy, but it's been amazing to hear what he has done in the world and in every one of your guys' lives. I had a long thing, because you give a pastor a mic, even an ex-pastor, you give him a mic and he likes to speak for a long time, but I've lost my speech, and we're running a little bit over time, just a little bit over time, like 29 minutes. But anyway, I do want to tell one story, and that story is my dad would always be there for me and Mark. And this was a time when Mark and I had long hair, and a lot of people at the YWAM base used to say, why do you let your kids have hair like that? And why would you let your kids listen to that kind of music? And then one day I went to a Striper concert. For those of you who don't know who a Striper is, it's a screamo heavy metal band. And we're there, and my church group, my high school church group decided to throw Bibles on the stage to the first act, because the first act wasn't a Christian band. So we threw Bibles on the stage. They picked out the Bibles and went, wow, I guess you guys are here for Striper. So they left and Striper came on. The next day in the newspaper, it said there was kids Striper reached out to old people of all ages. The kids throwing Bibles on the stage to the man in the back wearing a suit. And that was my dad at the back in a suit at a Striper concert supporting my choice, and always was there for our concerts, including when we were down in Chicago, or just past Chicago, for Cornerstone. Another screamo band called One Bad Pig. At midnight, he was out there with me screaming, we want pig, oink, we want pig, oink, at midnight. Dad and Mom right by my side when that was happening. But the most important thing about my dad was his love for God. And I feel it amiss if I don't say something here that God's grace is sufficient for everything. And his grace is not something that we can work for, we can't receive it. It's given to us as a gift. And that grace can fix all holes. It can fix all mistakes. It can fix all sins. And it can heal those places where you've been told that you can't use your arts, you can't perform that in churches, and he can fix those hurts as well. God's grace is so amazing, and we don't deserve it, and he gives it to us. And the thing that really remember from my dad's teaching is the rest being restored back to the original intention. And Dad's now in heaven, back in God's original intention, to be there, to walk with him and be with him. And that's what he wants for all of us. Dad wants to see all of you there in heaven so we can dance and talk and do all the things together. I know it's going a little bit late, but we do, one of the granddaughters, Tyra, has spent some time doing some photos of Dad, and to end off, we'd like to have those playing on the screen. After that is done, we can go out the back doors here, and to the right in the gymnasium, we have some refreshments. And before we show the video, I want to pray, and then we can go from that. Lord Jesus, thank you that you are the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Thank you for what we've heard about my dad tonight, Lord. And Lord, I do pray that you would give him a hug from all of us today, Lord, and say that thing again. Well done, my good and faithful servant. Lord, just be with everyone as they travel home today. Keep them safe. And bless the food we're about to have as well, Lord Jesus. And bless the hands that prepared it. Amen. And I do also want to thank my church, Hope Church, for everything they've done for us during this last couple of months, and for today, for the ladies and the men who've cooked, done all the preparation for the food, and the people in the tech who got all the sound and videos were just given to them 10 minutes before we started, so it's been really good. So I'm stopped talking, Mark. I got the message. I'm waiting.